Now then, hello there, or perhaps welcome back, whichever you prefer. We are continuing the grab bag week of short visual novels today, with one called Always the Same Blue Sky. Or, well, we will after a few minutes of waffling about, and us saying not much of use, I guess. Now then. There is nothing to catch up with, nothing to catch on, nothing to really say other than this? Nothing? Sure. Anyway, it's an intermission. Might be a little jarring since this is a separate thing, so you might find this separately from the other one, but this is just how these things go with me. But regardless, first things first is to warm up my reading capabilities, and we shall do so with a little short story I have written many years ago. It's probably not very good, haven't really read it fully, but I don't think I'll encounter any ones that are just straight up terrible anymore. That was just like the first couple from some weeks ago, so nothing to worry about there. Hopefully. Haven't read them, all of them, but it should be fine. I regained some of my sensibilities quickly now. But, yes, simple as that. Let's take away the music recommendations away from you for a moment, and let's put up the reading material. Yes, the titleless ones, and they shall remain so for quite a while, for the next, 2 years almost, something like that. Anyway, warming up before we delve into the visual actual thing that I'm supposed to be reading today. A short story 4. Let me get some more voices in. It was necessary, he says, proclaimed Joseph Call, carefully and loudly articulating every syllable. I should do that more properly myself. That's the point. Anyway. Here stands a man accused, credibly accused, of murder. And he says, it was necessary. His disgust and condescension no longer hidden at this farce of a trial. And none of you are willing to convict him. Call's furious glance slowly crawling over the stoic faces of the jurors. Why? Because he owns you. Your houses, your livestock, your jobs, your future. Only the accused, Simon Foster, does not avert to meet Call's gaze. His maid heard the silenced scream. His butler washed off the blood in the morning. His sister spoke of the meeting he had with the victim the day after the murder. Call, barely keeping his temper, espouses every piece of evidence, making a dramatic pause after each sentence. And yet, despite all the evidence, you wish to deem him innocent. He pierces every juror with a cold stare as the final statement echoes throughout the chamber. That is enough, Joseph, said the judge. Do not intimidate the jury any further, or you will be thrown out of my courtroom. Call suddenly burst out a single "Ha!" as he turns to the judge. Your courtroom, you say? Your? Truly, the degree to which this town yields this monster is truly despicable. Call begins to pace in front of the jury, looking up at the ceiling as if condemning them all in the eyes of God. Simon Foster, a rather average-looking man, clean-shaven, short grey hair, white shirt, blue vest, black pants, coughs lightly, and repeats what he said earlier. It was necessary, and you all know why. You do too, Joseph. Or need I remind you from whom you rent the land you live on, who provides this town with all its meat and silk and wine? Call stares back at him, but Simon continues. If the victim, as you call him, agent of chaos, as I call him, were allowed to do as he pleased, all of it would be lost to but the wealthiest amongst you, and even those would not remain wealthy for long. You don't quite understand what it is I do for this town. So let me remind you, Joseph. I keep your bellies fed. I ensure no bandits or Indians threaten us. I educate your children. And most importantly, I keep the government away. Silence shrouds the entire building at those last words. It is clear to everyone in the room what the final verdict will be, but Call, either out of sheer stubbornness or foolishness, breaks the spell. Your tyranny is no different than that of the governments. I have been to other towns and cities. They live just as well as we do. But there is a difference, yes. The people can and do hold those in charge accountable. Simon gives out a silent chuckle at that, followed by some of the jurors, seemingly out of a need or desire to appease Simon Foster. So be it. This town is not just. Therefore, I shall bring justice to this place. With that, Joseph Call stormed out of the courtroom. None stood in his way. Back in the chamber, Simon Foster got up and started walking away. Before leaving, he looked back at the judge and the jury and repeated once more, "It was necessary," and left for his home. Later that day, 3 documents were signed. One was for the innocence of Simon Foster, another for a lease on some land, and the final, a missing persons report. Well then, little frontier justice type thingy. I kinda like this one, honestly. I kinda do like this little, oh, that's the wrong button. The story, I enjoyed it. I think I liked it a lot when I wrote it. But anyway. Yes. Some character things, except for the bit... I guess I kinda disagree with the whole statement about him being a monster nowadays. Changed my perspective a little bit on that. But it makes sense for the character in there. To call, someone who has complete control over people's lives like that. Purely at a whim. But enough of that. Enough of that. Today, as I said several minutes ago, waffling is done now. We shall take an excursion into what I understand to be like a little short romantic type of visual novel. Something like that. Anyway, hopefully it'll be fun and cute and wholesome and everything like that. That's because those are my favorite types of stories. I really like those. I cannot get enough of this kind of slice of life, romantic comedy kind of things. God, I think I literally have like 300 something series like that on my to read or watch list somewhere. Jesus. But anyway, actually, let's get to the proper thing. Hopefully it will not be complicated. But yes, I am still a moron, and will remain so for the entirety of my life, I suppose. But now then, the options screen is what it is. Let us begin the journey. Someone named Grant is asking us, are you going on this adventure as a male or female? Now, typically, I'll confess I choose the female avatars, because it's just, more enjoyable to look at that, honestly. I'll be blunt about that. You'll get blunt honesty from me. If it's offensive, then well, so be it. I generally don't mean to offend, however, if I do mean to offend people with some of my statements, then I will not apologize. Because, if I mean to offend somebody and somebody gets offended, then good, I accomplished my goal there. Although I typically don't want to offend people, that's not useful for me. Or anyone, really. Anyway, but because I have this, fancy full-on faced avatar thingy, the VTuber model will be going as a male character. Let's go. The sea shining, sparkling brilliantly. And I leant over the immaculate red rail of the ferry and stared into the inviting Mediterranean Sea. The combined effect of the gentle breeze and wake from the ferry gave the impression that the sea was sheathed in silk. The precious fabric was a rich shade of turquoise, which transformed the glaring sun into 1,000 stars. Indeed, how lovely. How very lovely. Mesmerized, lost in the abyss, I had an overwhelming desire to obtain one of these elusive glimmers of light. Don't do it, you'll drown in the ocean. After spending only minutes transfixed, the desire developed into an unhealthy need that I couldn't overcome. Oh no, don't go diving into the water. I dutifully answered my possessor's siren call by deftly diving deep into its mysterious depth. You fool! The cool water felt divine against my mortal skin as it washed away the heat. I seemed to fall forever. You're high on as a kite, dude. Damn, what the hell? It was in that euphoric deep blue world that I caught a glimpse of her. You found a siren, or you're hallucinating. One or the other. This could very well be a drug trip, for all I know. It's probably not. But, like a jellyfish, she floated submissively in the water, with no obvious aim, no purpose. Her hair and elaborate garments danced around her in the water, as if trying to coax her to life. It worked. Although she remained unmoving, she acknowledged my presence with a smile. Aw, smiles are nice as well. Ooh, reaching out as well. Screen is going your drowning mode. I smiled back and she reached out towards my eyes. I instantly felt every muscle in my body relax. You're losing consciousness. That's what's happening. As she did this, the sea green filter that tinted the second world became more apparent, along with the shimmer of the distant sun. I wondered if this was the result of her using some sort of heavenly force, or merely the depletion of my sanity. Well, a bit of the latter, but mainly you're just drowning. Like, you're losing oxygen. What the hell? We start and we drown. Good job. Excellent. The glistening of her flowing hair became more prominent as my vision blurred. It was all I could focus on as my consciousness ebbed away. You fucking dumbass. Why would you jump in the goddamn sea? Good job. Goddamn. I awoke sharply, upright and panting heavily. I blinked, allowing a few seconds for reality to take over. So it was just a dream. Fair enough. As far as dreams go, that's probably not the worst you could have. It's pretty solid, romantic, sweet, except for the drowning bit. Intense dream, I muttered, trying to speed up the process. I guess the last few days have been pretty full on. I collapsed back down and took a minute to take in my new beachside apartment. It felt alien. Indeed, just move a few furniture pieces around in your own room and it will feel alien as well. At least for a few days. The mind gets used to new environments very quickly. It's one of our greatest survival feats and mechanisms. My eyes watered as I attempted to look past the bright light coming through my window to see what awaited me outside. Bright light? Damn it. Yeah, it's well past morning. You slept in. I leapt out of bed and rooted frantically through the open suitcase on the floor. Mother Christmas, 9:21 a.m. already. College starts in 9 minutes. The alarm must have been muffled. So we're a college student. Fair play. 9 minutes. Fast. Look, just accept the fact you're gonna be late for the first class. Just accept that. Don't rush. It's gonna be worse. If you're like, I grabbed my toothbrush and headed to the bathroom, stretching a little on the way. I didn't need to turn on the light as there was already ample, which felt bizarre as it had been snowing when I left England. So we're an English folk. Time to get on my Cockney accent. Can I don't know how to do a Cockney accent. Can I do a Cockney accent? No, I can't. I recoiled at the half... No, I'm not gonna do that. That's too annoying for my own brain. I recoiled at the half-human creature that greeted me in the mirror. I unfortunately didn't have time to fully tame it. You should. You should. As I brushed my teeth, I caught a glimpse of the familiar bottle of pills out the corner of my eye. It dawned on me that the last few days had been a bit of a blur. I was more than used to moving around though, so I knew I'd snap out of it. I decided to take an extra tablet all the same. I scouted the room as I hurriedly got dressed, throwing everything I laid my eyes on into my satchel, before legging it in the desperate hope I wouldn't be more than 10 minutes late. It took me an extra 5 minutes to find classroom 2C, as the instructions on the map were nowhere near as straightforward as they made themselves out to be. Ding dong, ding dong. I ended up being around 20 minutes late. The teacher was not impressed. It'll happen. Who cares? It's not that important, honestly. I apologized and awkwardly introduced myself to the teacher, whilst I felt the coldness of 40-odd pairs of eyes attempting to glare into the back of my soul. Honestly, they don't really care. Like, think back to your own school and college days if you had any of those. How much did you really care about the people that, presenting stuff in the front of the classroom? Not very. Did you now? I certainly didn't. She cut my explanation short, agitatedly told me to take a seat, and without pause continued with the lecture. I turned around to face my new classmates, their expressions now ranging from boredom to disinterest. Yep, that's typical, that's how it works. All except one, the destined one, with a face and everything. Whoa. Blonde hair, green eyes, and the scenery to match it all. I snapped out of autopilot as I hit the unexpected turbulence, but my hands missed the controls and I was left stunned. One hell of a metaphor there. She was without a doubt the most beautiful girl that I had ever seen, flawlessly proportioned with an almost porcelain face, completely free of any imperfections. I mean, that's what an anime face is. They typically, it takes more effort to add imperfections. Anyway, although untanned, the colors in her hair gave the impression she had spent a lifetime bathing in the sun. Full of depth, it appeared radiant in the bright light that flooded through the window behind her. It provided the perfect frame for her piercing apple-green eyes, which penetrated through all pretense. She had uncontested access to my very core. Although I felt exposed, I did not feel intimidated as her warm smile comforted me amongst all the dirty looks and sniggering. Pox. I came crashing back down to reality as I realized I had been standing there gormlessly for a lot longer than could be considered socially appropriate. I felt my face flush as I sheepishly took my place in the last remaining seat, which was, guess where? Right next to her, of course. Terrific, I mean, it's good for you. I spent the rest of the day... fuck, choices. God damn it. Choices again, I suck at these. I want my kinetic novels where I don't have to choose and I can just read a nice story. Well, fine. Let's see. No. Sure, nervously grinning whenever she looked in my direction. Let's go with that. Fuck the coward's choices, nervously avoiding her gaze. Fuck that. We're past that. I'm well past choosing the things that are shy, I'm so sure. Fuck that. Fuck that. Okay, good job, class. I expect to see you promptly tomorrow. The teacher said, glaring at me once again. Oh, fuck off. Not that matters that much, teacher. Anyway, hi, I'm Kira. It's a pleasure to meet ya. Kira. She pushed her hair behind her ear, revealing the full extent of her smile. Her full attention was focused on me, and this caught me completely off guard. As a result, I reverted to a more primal species, one without the capacity for language. Well done. Even worse than me, when I tried to speak stuff. Are you new to the island? Yes. Still nothing. Really? God. Teenager, what a pathetic display of excuse. Just because a pretty girl talks to you, suddenly freeze up. It's not a big place and I haven't seen you around. My brain slowly started to click back into life. I decided to start with my name. Okay. My name's Carionto. And that's what... Okay, we don't have enough space. We only have 6 letters. Okay, so I'm just gonna go with the... Okay, fuck it. Cairo. That's what we're gonna go with. My name's Cairo. Boomed confidently. Fuck yeah. Overcompensating for my previous silence. Hell yeah. If you're gonna ham it up, then ham it up. Again, I've said this before, I think, but there's 2 types. If you're bad at acting, then overact, then underact. At least that's gonna be entertaining and memorable, if maybe embarrassing, but at least it's something. You get emotions, you're gonna get energized yourself. Underacting is just fucking boring. It's great to meet ya. I just arrived here yesterday, in fact. It was a last-minute thing, so I think my brain could be lagging a little behind, which is fair. I scratched the back of my head nervously. I was lucky to find an international college in such a remote place, really. Yeah, I would imagine so. I don't know where we are exactly, though. Oh, well, I mean, it's some kind of island in Japan, I guess, based on the little picture of the... Although it could be fucking anywhere, honestly. It's an international college, so... bleh. I smiled awkwardly, realizing that I was waffling. That's fine, I waffle so much more than you. That wasn't waffling at all, by my standards. You didn't spend like 10 minutes doing fuck all. I guess you weren't from around here. You're from England, right? I was shocked. Someone... How did you know that? Maybe because she's culturally aware of things and, reads or listens to people? Your accent, no shit. I mean, I haven't expressed an English accent. I can't do that. Not on a whim, not on command. I can sometimes do an English accent when I'm not trying to. I don't know. Kira chuckled a little at my expression. Great, glad things are picking up, I thought sarcastically. I couldn't help but grin at my own denseness. That's fine, you're an anime character protagonist, of course you can be dense as fuck. I tried to work out where she was from so that I could continue the conversation, but I was baffled. It was obvious she wasn't a local. Okay, so I'm guessing... fuck knows. Hawaii, maybe? I mean, she's not from Hawaii, no. With the name like Kira... Oh, fuck knows. She could... Let's go with, guessing from... Let's say... Chile. Yes. Fuck it, why not? Based on nothing. I had lived in what seemed like every nook and cranny of the globe, yet I had never encountered an accent like hers before. Not that it didn't complement her perfectly. Yeah, that doesn't really work if you don't put an accent in your unvoiced lines in the text. Or if you give them a voice so we can hear an accent. Or something like that. We're fucking guessing. I guessed, so we're gonna guess as well. I planted my tongue firmly in the side of my cheek. I'm going to take a random stab and darken somewhere in the Netherlands? Knowing full well I was wrong. I couldn't gauge Kira's reaction. Afraid not. I'm not giving up that easily. How about a mysterious undiscovered island in the Bermuda Triangle? Let's go all spooky and shit. Well then, how would I have gotten here? Good point. Very true. You'll never get it, Kira said with a chuckle and glint in her eye. I guess you'll have to spend some time with me to figure it out. Mystery girl. Ah, that was a heartbeat sound effect, although I have turned those down. But I will acknowledge it myself. I felt my heart thump. What was this girl doing to me? You've fallen in love, that's what's happening. At least it's an attraction, or at least you fancy her, as the British would say. So on that note, would you like someone to show you around? Well, the places I've discovered so far, anyway. Yeah, that'd be great if you're sure you don't mind. Oh, I gave him an American accent now. You know what? Let's try to give ourselves an American accent, if I can remember to do that. I will forget that. But anyway, she smiled excitedly. Sure, I'd love to. With that, Kira turned and led the way out of the classroom. Our peers parted as she walked with purpose towards the exit. I was starting to wonder where the hell Kira was taking me after following her through random side roads and dark alleys for what must have been at least half an hour. You can get quite far in half an hour. Although two people walking around, probably no more than a kilometer. Which isn't that far, honestly. She would stop stopping as well. Yeah, you're not far at all anywhere. Although winding side roads and stuff like that, in a place like this, fuck, you could be lost forever. She would stop occasionally when confronted with more than one path, her gaze flicking wildly between them. She's just guessing. But walk with confidence. Doesn't matter if you're wrong, walk with confidence. And you'll be right eventually. Before confidently strolling down the mile that seemed to lead closest to our point of origin. That doesn't mean shit for these winding roads. It might seem like it's going, where you want, but then it like gently leans and you might end up where you started back on. Because that's how at least that's how European architecture tends to work sometimes. At least based on like the fucking 800-year-old city I live in. Well, near live. Whatever. Fucking old Riga is a fucking goddamn maze. Anyway, it was this coupled with the signpost we had passed 4 times previously that led me to the conclusion that we were going around in circles. Yep, that's typical. That is correct. Got the feeling it could be the next left. I left her to it, though, as I didn't mind where we were. I was enjoying her company. Yes, that's like, doesn't matter. It's company that matters. She's getting a little disappointed in herself. I could have sworn it was this way. What kind of accent is that now? Fuck me. Oh well, I'll never be consistent with accents. Like, I'm a little too tired and having too much fun to care about that. Kira said agitatedly, as if accusing the streets of rearranging overnight. Might seem that way. How long have you lived here again? I asked, tongue-in-cheek. Only a few months. Kira looked at me hopefully. I kept my expression blank. Long enough to know. Being a little cheeky. She finished defeated. What are the people here like then? Island mentality and all that? They're friendly enough, but a little one-dimensional. Outsiders usually have more substance. One-dimensional as in they don't even have personalities. Yeah, they're literally background characters. Being a little meta here. I was unsure how to take this, but didn't have time to contemplate as Kira had cut herself off with a sharp look to the right. Yeah. You know what? I'm sure this is where I lost my bracelet the other week. Kira's feet followed her gaze diligently down the street. Down the side street even, her eyes focusing on different points as she described it to me. It's nothing extravagant, just a chain with shells attached really, but meant a lot to me. Scour the floor for it, find out more about the bracelet. You know what? We're just brazenly going at it. Let's start searching for it right away. Fuck it. Oh no, you don't have to. Fuck it, it's more fun this way. She exclaimed as I knelt down to look through a small gap. Don't worry about it. And I was entirely sincere. I could tell Kira was upset. We searched as thoroughly as we could, but to no avail. Kira was disappointed, but seemed a little cheerier, and I was happy to have contributed. The conversation now seemed to flow more freely as we continued towards our destination. Our destination towards destiny. So here we are then, Kira said, turning suddenly at the end of an alley. Our faces were now only inches apart. Doki doki, doki doki, doki doki, his heart is beating. Her relaxed, soothing breath caressed my face. I was too on edge to breathe myself. Do breathe though, you need to breathe or you'll pass out, like in your dream. The town center. As she said this, she leant to one side, examining my expression. I felt the light she had been guarding hit my face. I was greeted with a bustling, charming, pretty town center, modern yet quaint. Yeah, I've seen these kinds before. She giggled and I realized that she had expected my slightly stunned reaction. I wouldn't be stunned, honestly, but that's what happens when you live in places like that. Although, you know, sometimes you do need to just look back and just acknowledge that, yes, while I do see this place every day, it is quite fascinating. Every single building is different. It was built at different times, it's got different architects, it's got like different stonemanship and everything else worked around it. Like, Old Riga is a pretty nice place, honestly. It's a very pretty place to look at. Even if it can be kind of... I never explored much. Anyway, back to the other reality. I love this town. There's always a really good atmosphere. Would you like to see some of my favorite stores? Yes, please. Yeah, sure. I said, smiling at her enthusiasm. Great, because I have impeccable taste, I'm sure you do. She tapped my nose before she turned around to lead. Ah, she's a cheeky one. I like her. She's fun. The side street came out roughly halfway up the steep hill on which the town was situated. I squinted as we were bathed in warm sunlight, which was intensified by the large number of glass shops. I must be part magpie. Bloody fucking magpies, always. Everywhere. They're everywhere, fucking magpies. In space. Here. In ourselves. Actual birds as well. Fucking magpies. As I was entirely seduced, and the constant cool sea breeze allowed time to take it all in. The parts of the buildings which weren't constructed of glass had a very traditional, almost ceramic quality to them. Yeah, this gives off more like a... what's it called? The South American vibe, at least the kind you get from movies set in like older time periods. Kira's pace had mellowed quite drastically from the one I had become accustomed to, which only served to exacerbate the relaxing air the town already secreted. We casually meandered, with Kira stopping and explaining why she liked one quirky shop after the next. Piffle Bakery was established almost 150 years ago and quickly became famous for its fruit cupcakes. I spend way too much time here, sad face. Ding dong. All the clothes here are imported from France. The shop is always full, but no one ever buys anything. Derp. Well, it's too fucking expensive for the locals, I'm guessing, because it's imported stuff. So no shit, they don't. Like come on now. In a place like this, wherever the fuck we are, just like make it locally and just say it's from France. Because like, who the fuck will be able to tell the difference, and who cares? If it looks nice and feels nice, if it's a good piece of clothing, then who gives a shit? Good clothing is good clothing. And it's affordable, so... I actually have no idea what this shop is. It's a mystery shop. It's cursed. It's a cursed vendor. Any items you take will curse you forever. Like in so many things. I can only recall actually going into 2 stores, but even that seemed excessive as Kira had given me a detailed overview of their contents and history beforehand. She's a very curious little gal, isn't she? Some of them seemed far too dramatic or unrealistic to actually be believable, such as the story behind her favorite shop which sold exquisite glassware. Story time. Ooh, moonlight. Lighthouse, the moon, the sea, the rocks, the beach, the clouds, the stars, the sand, and the text box, and the text. Waves, shark fins maybe? No. Described everything that's visible, and me. Apparently the shopkeeper's husband had gone out to sea during a ferocious storm one night and never returned. Uh-oh, dramatic. Every evening the widow took a gas lamp to the shore, faithfully awaiting her husband's return, but always left disappointed. Until exactly 3 months after his disappearance, when an exquisite golden glass starfish washed up by her feet. Ooh, fancy. She took this as a message from her husband and as inspiration to learn the craft. She opened a humble store hoping that he would one day hear tell of it and return to her. I guess it's just a happy coincidence that she seemed to be doing pretty damn well out of it, as there were quite a few people gathered outside, which was unsurprising really. The shop itself stood out a mile over its competitors. Ooh, fancy glasswork. Glasswork is fancy. Even though the sun was beginning to set, the shop still sparkled wildly. The front display was filled to the brim with colored glass which seemed intent on conquering the full spectrum. It really was mesmerizing. Become mesmerized by Mesmer, probably some kind of Marvel DC villain. 90% of them are. This is my favorite piece, Kira said, breaking the scale past by pointing at a dazzling glass dolphin jumping out of a green-colored sea. Indeed, dolphins are elegant creatures, except for when they are not. Dolphins can be really... Look it up. Or don't, actually, don't. Anyway. She was leaning in, fixated on it. Her face didn't show it, but I'm sure I saw a shade of sadness in her eyes. She turned to face me, smiling warmly. Do you like milkshakes? Sure. Hell yeah. In real life, I'm slightly lactose intolerant. Oh, fuck it, I still drink it. Hell yeah, milkshakes. Mind reader, a milkshake is exactly what I need to help me deal with this heat. Let's do it. Milkshakes are great. As it was only a few minutes to closing time, there was only one table still up. Luckily, it gave us a spectacular view of the setting sun over the rolling tide. Kira seemed quietly thrilled with her Rocky Road milkshake, which looked bigger than her head. Does it? A little bit, I guess. Only a little bit. Only a little bit. Bigger. She dived in pretty much as soon as we had sat down and drank the whole thing in around 30 seconds. Damn, she was thirsty. I had started to compete with her after she'd taken a couple of glugs, but it didn't go very well as brain freeze quickly set in. Might. Oops. You'll need more practice, I'm afraid. I try and come here most days if I can. It seems to make the school day pass quicker. Here, I saved you a bit. I still had brain freeze. But soldiering through so as not to lose face or decline her off. Fuck that, soldier through. It's a milkshake, it's delicious. Fuck the brain freeze, you can suffer later. Really good, isn't it? Fuck yeah. I could sit here all day watching the sea. A lot of people would find that mundane, but they wouldn't if they focused on the right things. Ooh, she blinked as a breeze caught her hair. It whistled slightly as it traveled through the discordant buildings and past us. Ooh, howling wind. Her eyes followed it and lingered in the direction it left. Without turning back, she said in a half-whispered tone, I should go. The wind calls me, apparently. Is it late? Or is she a siren, actually? Ooh. Ooh, do we get a mystery, or is it just like a coincidence? Yeah. She leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and left. Ooh. Her hair swayed as she disappeared into the distance. She's a brazen one. I decided to go back into town as I had seen something that caught my eye. Oh. She's fishing. I had been moved around my whole life, barely spending more than a few months in one school. People usually react to this fact with pity, not necessarily expressing it vocally, but it's there, in their eyes. It's just a different life. Everyone gets used to their own lives, typically. This has always made little sense to me, though. I know no different. It's all I've ever known. It's my life, exactly. School has always been a place of purpose to me. I am naturally inquisitive and have a strong desire to widen my pool of knowledge. That's why I've always secured a place in the local school before agreeing to relocate. For the first time I could remember, a school had become more than a place of learning for me, and for once I was eager to stay put. Well, that's nice. Then again, it's hard not to be charmed by the place. The school is situated on the end of a peninsula, and no matter where you are, you can hear the constant lapping of the docile waves on the beach not far below. The teachers and pupils work much in the same way as any other school I've attended, yet it is all sheathed in a potent, comforting, acquiescent atmosphere which makes it all seem entirely different, special. I had been attending for a few weeks now, and had built up some acquaintances in the process which helped the days pass quicker. But the one person there I really cared about seemed cold, almost like she was trying to avoid me. Huh? Oh, that's a sudden turn. Which is strange, as she was the exact opposite outside of the establishment. Okay. Private life, school life. Fair enough. I mean, different environments, people have different personas for them. That's totally fine. We spend most of our time after school together, in fact. It had become an unspoken rule that we met in the milkshake parlor. Just last night, as planned, we went crab fishing. Sat at the end of the harbor, we talked until the sun went down. But for some reason, whenever I caught her eye in the classroom, she always looked away. Interesting. A little shy? No, she wasn't. Or maybe, fuck knows. Kira had been acting weird all day. She was usually so cheerful and full of life, but today she almost seemed absent. She had been looking out the window and fiddling with her pen all lesson, which is why it came as no surprise when she got up and walked out towards the end. I tried to ignore this and concentrate on what the teacher was saying. Poseidon's greatest temple resided in Atlantis, so when Atlantis was destroyed, Poseidon left this planet and... What was on Kira's mind? What was making her unhappy? Could she have family problems? Maybe I was just projecting. Then again, I couldn't recall her ever mentioning her family before. It seemed like a waste of time sitting there contemplating what was running through her mind, instead of just asking her. Exactly, communication! It's the easiest thing in the world. If you want to say something, if you want to know something, communicate. It's the easiest thing in the world. Just like, say it. Go up to the person, ask something, or chat them up or something, whatever. I don't, come on, it's so fucking easy. God damn it. See? That easy. Even fucking... goddamn, I keep forgetting to turn my phone on silent mode. Fuck me. I should do that. But I'm forgetful like that. Oh well. Anyway, where was I? Instead of just asking, yes, just ask her. As Kira had done a few minutes before, I left the room without a word. I had a feeling I knew where Kira would be. I found Kira sat on a collection of large, dark, uneven rocks, which were located on the end of the peninsula beneath the school. Interesting place. They were only accessible at a very limited period each day, and weren't easy to reach. But your reward was privacy and a chance to escape the school above, which was out of view due to the rocky area being a little indented into the land. That's a very fancy little place there. Hidden away. Fancy as in, like, secretive, special. Otherwise, like, visually it's kind of, well, it's just rocks. I found Kira sitting there, watching the sea massage everything around her, small amounts of spray occasionally spitting over her feet. The sky was grey and it looked like a storm could be coming, but it wasn't too cold yet. She briefly looked up and smiled at me, acknowledging my presence as I sat on the rock next to her. I rolled up the bottom of my trousers to prevent them from getting wet, pulled my legs towards me, rested my head on my folded arms, and watched the struggling water with her. Even though nothing had been resolved, my head quickly cleared while sitting there. After a few minutes, Kira softly said, "I didn't know you had a tattoo. I like it. We have a tattoo." Cool. I don't have tattoos in real life. I could never even fathom the idea of tattooing myself. I don't mind other people doing it. That's fine. That's your choice. But I cannot, like, consider even, like, tattooing or piercing my body in any way. It's like any of that kind of things. Just don't like... I don't like the idea of modifying my own body at all. It's fascinating that other people do it, and it can look pretty fucking awesome on others. And, like, got nothing against it. I just don't want to do it to myself. Anyway, isn't a giant squid... It's a giant squid, isn't it? Sure. This caught me off guard. So did me. So was I. So it did me as well. Fuck, grammar is hard. Most people think it's a regular squid. I'm impressed you know the difference. It is indeed. It is indeed. Simple answer. I love their majesty and mystery. I've always had a bit of a fascination with them, if I am honest. The Kraken. Yes, the Kraken is a squid. Yes, octopus is different. I can see why. Despite the myths not being true, they're complex creatures. They don't have bones, I believe. Or was it octopi that don't have bones? One of them doesn't have bones and can, like, just squeeze through. There's like a fancy little video where it, like, squeezes through like a tiny little crack, like, opening in the boat. It's like this pretty big thing, and it's just like whoosh, like, just like it's a little freaky. It's a little freaky. Like, it's just liquid with that's moving around on it, so it's fucking weird. Kira, what's wrong? I repeated. She said nothing for a minute. She's got a bit of a downcast expression. Is it acceptable to be selfish? Yes, it is. People are inherently selfish, so therefore it is fair to be annoyed by selfish behavior. I mean, there's in moderation. Selfishness in moderation. Everything in moderation. But yes, it is important, and it is absolutely okay to be selfish, otherwise what's the point? Do something for yourself. Because if you can't satisfy yourself, then what's the point, honestly? Like, it's your life, do with it as you please, as long as it doesn't cross, like, certain borders of, like, interfering in other people's happiness and whatnot. Like, obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that, but generally the gist of it is, like, it is not wrong to want things for yourself. Like, that's the simple aspect of it. I took a minute myself. It's a part of the human psyche, something that can't be helped, yes. Just because someone gravitates more easily towards a certain behavior doesn't make it right. I mean, I agree with both of these statements. But I can also disagree with both of them, to a degree, I think. Anyway, it's part of the human psyche, something that can't be helped. Although people aren't usually open about it, it's unavoidable, exactly. But it's not as black and white as that. For example, the only reason you're here now looking out for me is in the hopes that I do the same for you. And no, not necessarily. Some people are quite selfless. Like, look, the human brain is literally the most complicated thing humans ever attempt to study. We literally will not understand because everyone has a slightly different brain from the others. So it's literally there is no generalization. The average Joe doesn't exist. It's a mythological entity. Oh, that one day in the future, there is literally going to be a mythology about the average Joe. This mysterious, inexplicable average Joe. If I said right now that I care nothing for you and I'll never speak to you again, would you still be here? I think so. I think this person would be. Yes. Her tone was emotionless. I took something out of my pocket before I answered. Oh, you found her bracelet? Cool. Yes. I would be. Yeah, she's a good person. Like, you know, whatever. I said placing the bracelet that I had bought that first day in her hand. This is to say thank you for showing me around and making me feel welcome. I got up to leave. Kira grabbed my hand, so I turned around and met her eyes. They were full of sincerity. I believe you, sure. Like, it's not difficult being nice, honestly. Like, it's honestly easier to be nice than to be mean, because literally, what do you get from being mean to others? Fucking nothing. You get their enmity. That's a fucking complicated. Why is M and N in the same? Anyway, just be nice and be kind to others, because it's a lot simpler. It's gonna make your life simpler, and it's gonna make their life simpler, and it's gonna make the interaction easier as well. Like, seriously, I don't understand why people can be like choose to be mean and upset and angry and like burst out. Like, you're like, sure, it's human emotion, but you're also a person with intelligence and you're aware of your own faults, so work against them. Work against your own stupid instincts. Like, fuck's sake. Anyway, people are dumb. Just be nice. It'll make your life easier. And you'll be happier as well, because everyone else around you will be happier as well. It's fucking simple. It's fucking simple. Like, sure, like, seriously, you can be mean on the inside and fucking curse at them in your own private time. Like, that's fine. I do that all the time, honestly. No one will know what exactly I curse or who or why, but I do it. And then when comes time to interact with them, I'm just like, you know, basic politeness, reasonable, just like, yeah, I'll help you out, sure. Whatever it is, you say, yep, I'm listening, okay, yeah, okay, got it, bye-bye now, or something like that. Like, I don't go out of my way, but, you know, anyway, keep it simple, keeping it workable. No point in pointless animosity. Wait, I didn't read that previous line. I took her other hand and hoisted her up. If we head back now, we can make the next class. She smiled warmly, but for some reason it just incited pity. Oh, really? She didn't let go of my hand until we reached the school. Aw. We went into the town that evening. It was quite late, yet the illuminated stained glass bathed the town in a faint rainbow. We were too absorbed in our debate to pay attention to where we were going. As a result, we ended up in an unfamiliar area. But we didn't take notice until... Ooh, it's midnight. Kira stopped. Uh-oh. Do you hear that? It's an owl. An O-W-L. Yes, I did hear it. It sounded like an owl, but surely there can't be any... I mean, people keep pets? Why not? My speech trailed off as I looked around, distracted by something. Where are we, Kira? Kira shrugged, about to speak. I don't know. Fuck me if I know. Ooh. It was an owl. Yeah. Kira looked at me, intent in her eyes, super sparkly. I nodded and we followed his call through a hidden side street. Tip tap 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 tip tappy. We were greeted by a spectacular courtyard. The whole area was roofed with vines and had an air of being forgotten. This is where you meet the sage of the past who will give you the quest for immortality and send you off into the Netherlands. The Wonderland? The, what was it, Pandora? No, not Pandora's box. That's a whole different can. That's literally a can of worms. And among a billion other things. No, what was it called? Nirvana? No, that's the Buddhist thing. What's that fantasy place? Narnia, that's it. That's the thing. Send you off to Narnia. Or the Wonderland? Alice in the Wonderland. Does it have a name? The Emerald place? The Emerald Road. Fuck me, I don't know. God damn it. I'm not familiar with these old cultural things yet. I'm aware of fuck. Anyway, of being forgotten, yes. The ancient well took center stage, with the star being an ornate birdcage. It hung from the roof, shimmering brilliantly in the moonlight. Hello there. Kira walked over somberly to investigate. Its door was wide open. Uh-oh. Strange indeed, Kira said, sieving a few through her fingers. I sat on the well next to her. Owls don't eat seeds, do they? No, they're carnivores, generally, as far as I know. And the plot thickens. Ha! Kira sat next to me and we stayed silent for a minute, giving ourselves time to acclimatize to the mysterious courtyard. It had the air of a grand cathedral. Really. Kira's dulcet tone was a welcome addition as she continued our previously interrupted conversation. Large portions of moonlight were blocked by the vines above, imprinting a dense pattern of the fine leaves on Kira's face that refused to fully mesh with her as she enthusiastically annotated her history lesson with hand movements. God, my reading ability is being impaired by something. Okay, I need to take a sip of water. Ah, there we go. Much better. Always stay hydrated. She talked about the fabled egalitarian society that founded and lived harmoniously in the ancient town before the rest of the world brought in its influences. Toilets! Plumbing! Soap! It sounded truly idyllic. Although Kira must have invested a lot of time into studying the day-to-day life, and talked about it enthusiastically, she didn't sound fully convinced. So if this island never had contact with the outside world, do you think things could have continued in that way? Yes, there is like an island somewhere, fucking somewhere, where people have tried to contact them, but the natives like once ran out with like a bow and arrow and attacked the helicopter or something, and it's like people decide, you know what, these people, every attempt we've made to try and contact them, that was met with aggression. They decided, no, fuck off, foreigners, outsiders, you're demons, we're gonna live on our own, fuck off, we've lived here for fuck knows how long, we'll continue to live here for fuck knows how long, stay away. Like, there's an island, no, it's in the Pacific, or like the Philippines. It might be like in like the Indonesia region, because they've got like millions of islands there or something like that. I don't remember, but it's a fascinating place. I asked, jumping on her train of thought. I have lost my train of thought entirely. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. But anyway, we got on a cute little date, examining the mysterious owl and a little shop. Well, in theory, that'd be great, but most people aren't good through and through, as I'm sure you know, traveling as much as you have. Scam artists are everywhere and they pick up on foreigners. Realistically, it was inevitable. The islanders just blame others so that they don't have to take responsibility for their own mistakes. It's human nature. Indeed, it doesn't matter how many... Like, it doesn't matter if you purge, like, everything, all of the others. Eventually, you'll find new ways to distinguish the other and blame them for your problems. That's just human nature as well. Like, look at all of Europe's history. Fucking like... it's a fucking pile of nonsense. And death. So much fucking death. Oh god. Europe. It's real bad. I mean, China's also terrible, although... Because Eurocentric history lessons, I never learned much about China, and apparently... not apparently, obviously. It's had some of... No, literally, it's had the deadliest wars outside of, like, World War II. Although China was involved in that... Yes? Yeah, right, yeah. Japan and China went at it for the fucking brutal. God. That's a very, very, very terrible can of worms to look into. I would recommend against. But if you're fascinated by history, you absolutely have to. That's the Sino-Japanese... Wait, isn't anyway, it's human nature to waffle and be incoherent as well. I guess there can never be real harmony in human societies. There will always be destruction until there is nothing left to destroy. I mean, that's true only because of a limitation in the resources. Generally speaking. There's always assholes who are going to ruin things for others because... I don't know why. They think That the only way for them to be better is to deprive others? Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Was I ever on topic? No, but we are getting into bad topics I shouldn't discuss. Anyway, I do agree more than I disagree, yes. It used to shock me, returning years later to places I had once lived in. Sometimes it took me a while to realize, but every single place, without fail, had changed, and never for the better. Kinda doubt that, honestly. In fact, it's the places that see the most economic growth that tend to lose the most. Right? I don't know. Kira looked up at the moon, her hands grasped together and eyes glinting as a gentle breeze ruffled the leaves above. Barely audible, almost like it was part of an exhaled breath, I'm sure I heard Kira say, "It was always inevitable." Alright. Martial clouds, okay. I was wondering what these sounds were, I'm just listening in. Anyway, after finishing training with the martial arts club, I decided to look for Kira, keep physically fit. Yes, that's a good thing. I was concerned as she would always stop and watch for a few minutes, her way of supporting me. Training was outside the entrance of the school, so I would have seen Kira leave, meaning she must still be inside. I checked all the obvious places, but there was no sign of her anywhere. I leant against the wall of our classroom as I watched the setting sun through the full-length windows, wondering where to go from here. A seagull, silhouetted against the sun, flew past to join his friends on the roof. Then it hit me. I hadn't tried the roof. Ah, yes, the typical... Of course, the roof, obviously. We can't have a school day without going to the roof of the school. Duh! The school had a flat roof, so of course it does. So it made sense that you'd be able to go up there, and sure enough, a few corridors later I found the staircase. Obviously. There was a key already in the lock, and the door was ajar. I cautiously nudged it open and saw her there. Of course he did. Glistening golden hair against the golden sunset. Kira was standing 10 meters or so in front of me, leaning against the rail and watching the picturesque sunset as I had done moments before just below her. Her hair was being tousled forcibly by the wind, as if trying to keep dying embers alight. I was cut short by a seagull. Seagull, you fly. Where you are going? The seagull I had tracked perched loudly on the rail by her side. Taken by surprise, Kira jolted to look, tears flying off her face as she did so. Oh, what's she crying about? Oh. Her eyes were distant and desperate. Oh no. God knew I wanted it to be, but my heart told me it wasn't my place to intervene. That I was never meant to be part of this elegy. So, although it pained me, I quietly left. What? I received a call later that day. You'll be moved within the week. Make sure you are ready to leave at any time. What? Eh? I spotted her instantly, leaning against a lamppost, shielded by the shade of a nearby tree. Wearing a pale, virtually see-through dress, I was glad she hadn't noticed me as I needed a minute to adjust. Kira was oblivious to the world, focused completely on the gently lapping waves. She sheepishly looked up in my direction as I approached her. "Oh, hi!" she said excitedly as she leapt forwards and hugged me. Hugs are nice. It could have been my imagination, but I could swear that as her head passed mine, at the edge of my vision, I saw her expression go blank. Eh? "I'm so happy you're here. I've been looking forward to this for a while." We found a secluded spot under a tree. I laid out the blanket along with the food we had bought in town the day before. We sat talking about life, about everything and nothing. I decided not to tell her I wasn't going to be around for much longer. I knew it was selfish, but I was genuinely happy, a rare emotion that I had to cling on to just a little longer. Fortunately for me, she was definitely a rambler, and I loved listening to her. Every word oozed character and significance, but at the same time was unprovocative and somehow soothing. I wasn't really thinking about much. I was just basking in the moment. But I suppose if I had been, I would have been working out a way to make those days last forever. "Let's go swimming," Kira said, removing her dress. I casually rooted through the picnic basket, not wanting her to see my flushed face. "Don't worry about that, let's go." she exclaimed as she gestured towards the ocean. Meekly do as you're told, throw down the bread roll and leg it to the water. There we go, the exciting option. Fuck the meek options. Those aren't exciting. Race ya! There we go. I shouted as I passed her, eyes focused on the ocean. Just have fun. The blazing sun sparkled off the sand, creating a runway to the cool, refreshing water. I looked over my shoulder as I reached the sea, not taking into account the sand's new, saturated consistency. Crash! My foot slid, and as a result, I found myself part submerged in the shallow water. Donked. I heard splashes approaching excitedly from the side. You dummy. I looked up sheepishly towards the source to find Kira guffawing wildly. Guffaw! That's a rare word, you see. Game on! There we go. With my face unchanged and using the sea to hide my execution, I dislodged her ankle. Whoop. We traded expressions. I chuckled as she frantically wobbled, trying desperately not to fall. She failed. There we go. And fell right on top of me. A human pile. There was a thin layer of water between us, but I could feel her body pressed against mine. My throat had tightened, resulting in an audible gulp. Kira blushed and looked away. Ah, young love. It's adorable. Kids are shy like that. Anyway, I had never seen Kira embarrassed before. I had never even considered it a possibility. Right, I had had enough. This wasn't her. I playfully pushed her off me. She looked over at me, feigning anger. I got up and offered her my hand. She used it to pull me back into the water. This time I looked at her disgruntledly. Kira closed her eyes and stuck out her tongue. Blip. Little silly kids. This led to a full-blown play fight, which I maintain to this day I let her win. Sure you did. Sure you did. It's mutual. Now that our bodies had been forcibly adjusted to their new surroundings, we decided to swim along the coast. We followed the cliffs, stopping at little coves to see if there were any brightly colored fish we hadn't previously encountered. I had swum in many different areas of the Mediterranean, but none had anywhere near as broad a range of aquatic life as here. It was truly stunning. Oh, it's the Mediterranean, I forgot that, so we're not on like one of those Greek islands or something. Fuck, I completely missed that at the very beginning, apparently. I read it out, and I forgot. Brain didn't think. I thought we were in fucking... Anyway, I literally thought we were in like Hawaii or something. Anyway, in one of the larger coves I noticed a hole at the bottom of the cliff face, only partially exposed above the water. Hey, check this out. Kira looked over at me puzzled. There's a cave. Looks like this could lead somewhere. I elaborated as she swam over. Wait, you're on... anyway. Kira dunked her head under the water. Right, they were above water, obviously. It's dark, but I see light at the end. There should be enough room to come up for air if we need to. Fancy little getaway under the ocean. I'm going for it. Fancy joining me? Of course. Yeah, of course. Fuck. What's the point of the other option? I didn't even read it. It was so pointless. Kira held out her hand, which I accepted, and on 3, we've dived just below the surface. The tunnel wasn't long, but it led to one of the most beautiful sights I had seen in my life. The isolated pool held a denser, warmer water that was cast, dancing reflections all over the walls. It felt like a bath, at the perfect temperature. My guess is that the area was saturated with salt as we could lie fully supported in comforting, rocking arms of azure. This could actually be paradise. We should just stay here forever, she uttered faintly. Kira gently maneuvered herself close to me so that we were lying side by side, watching the clouds together. Self-contained masses of water floating high above us in the sky. Seems pretty amazing when you think about it. It is. Clouds are magic. Like, all coincidences that led to Earth being the way it is. It's fascinating. Just one thing, if any of one bazillion things was a little bit different, life might not even be possible here at all. Just because, temperature's a little bit higher everywhere, so fuck it, you don't get to grow anything. Or it's like, things are denser, or like higher pressure, it's like, fuck it, you can't go on land because it's too, fucked. Whatever, I don't know. I'm not a science person. I do find science fascinating, but I'm not a thinking person either. Much so, anyway, when you think about it, I struggle to think. But anyway, yes, it is fascinating. Kira pondered. When I was growing up, I was told that clouds are formed by fish that have escaped the sea. Well, that's a dumb explanation. What? I remember thinking, this doesn't make sense to me. Why would a fish want to escape the sea? Apparently, if they swim as fast as they can towards the seabed, then career sharply upwards, they trap thin layers of water and air around them. So when they leap out of the sea and spread their fins as wide as they can, they simply carry on traveling in the angle they left the water, until eventually they reach the sky. Apparently, whales inhabit the largest clouds. But I don't believe that bit. Well, no shit. No shit. It sounds like a robust theory to me. Yeah, we're being playful. That sounds like a robust theory to me. I said, mustering up all the energy I could as I felt Kira look over at me expectantly. In all honesty, I had blanked out halfway through the story. Her voice was just so soothing. I felt like I was curled up by a warm fire. Kira didn't say anything for a while. I looked over to make sure she hadn't sunk. She didn't look impressed. You didn't hear any of that, did you? Fuck no, I didn't. Of course I did. About how fish live in clouds. My sentence trailed off as I realized how ridiculous that sounded. Kira knew exactly what was going on. I looked over to confirm, and as I expected, her expression hadn't changed. This pushed me over the edge. I tried to stifle it initially, but couldn't stop myself laughing, especially when Kira's stony gaze broke. We lay there, comfortably roasting in the bright sun, soaking in the warm atmosphere, with tranquility extending time until inevitably the sun began to set. It's getting late, Kia muttered disappointedly. We should head back. Yeah, the sea glowed a beautiful rich color as the sun bestowed a last burst of energy upon it, longing that it would be enough to survive its cold, unforgiving lunar mistress. Kira reached the shore before me and, crouching down, pushed her fists into the wet sand, using them to hoist herself up. She walked towards our blanket, the fading sun twinkling off her wet body. She looked over her shoulders at me as I clumsily clambered out of the salty expanse, not focusing on my coordination. Kira was sat on the blanket with her legs to one side when I finally caught up. Water dripped from her face as she smiled warmly at me. Here, I offered, holding out a towel. She leant closer, put her hand on the towel as if to take it, but didn't. Our faces were now only inches apart. You know what? I've been thinking. When we're young, we're taught not to trust our own judgment and to second-guess everything we do. I mean, that's fair because you don't have much life experience and you don't actually know better, so it is good to not trust your own judgment, because based on very limited and probably highly biased experiences. Not always, but that's generally not terrible advice, at least. I've come to realize that there's no reason to live in fear of our convictions. If you can't trust yourself, then how can you expect to trust anything? I mean, you shouldn't fear your own convictions, obviously, but you should question your own convictions. Are they actually correct? That's why you need to, trust things. Not trust, check. I mean, that's why you that's a scientific thing. Science doesn't trust itself. How often do you hear about scientists who get prominent because they disproved someone else's theory? Whoa, you disproved that. Well, way to go. Scientists, that's why science is great, and you should trust it, because science doesn't trust itself. I read an article about that recently, and it's that is a very fascinating point, actually. It's very accurate. It's very correct. Duh. If you don't trust science, get in line. Science doesn't trust itself. So, you're way behind there, pal. I have firm beliefs, and I know what I'm doing is right. Oh, that's not. How do you know what you're doing is right? You gotta question that. How have you come to that conclusion? Is there any other possibility? You do need to question yourself, especially when you say declaratively that you are right about something. It may feel difficult superficially, but I have a job to do for a greater good. What? That being said, I regret that I chose you. Eh? What do you mean by that? Kira leant closer and kissed me. The moment I had pined for since the very second I laid my unmarred eyes on her, I instantly lost myself in a wave of endorphins. I had never felt more alive, more detached from this world. Yet there was a tinge of emptiness, an emptiness that was rapidly growing. I opened my eyes to see the characteristic green of her irises seep out of their confines. I knew she was draining my essence. I could feel my soul leaving, yet I couldn't move. hell? I didn't want to move. Eh? I passed out. Eh? Was she actually like a siren? What? Eh? What happened there? What? What? Hello? What? Sudden plot twist? Okay. I was coaxed out of the darkness by the rough lapping of the life-giving ocean, accompanied by an exhausted yet still desperate sobbing. It was the latter that truly woke me. I could feel it resonate deep within me. Her pain was now my pain. No, it always had been. Even before our fated encounter, it was our destiny. I slowly opened my eyes to see a scene very different to the one I had left behind. Hello? Bathed in the sad, pale light of the large full moon, which watched us eagerly not far above the horizon, Kira was sat cradling her knees. Kira, is she Cthulhu? Or something? I attempted hoarsely. No, why did I think of it? Okay, I mean, I do have Steam achievements on, they sometimes pop in. I kind of forget to turn them off. So there was like a little thing that popped up with like an octopus thingy. I don't know, I didn't read it. Not sure what that was about. It said the truth, I think. So that made me think like, Cthulhu maybe? The sobbing stopped instantly. Now only the waves remained. She darted her head in my direction and gazed intensely into my eyes, as if trying to solve a complex puzzle. Her now conventional, dulled eyes stood out even more than normal from her tear-stained, disheveled visage. Or maybe it's just because I had seen what they were capable of. Either way, her gaze consumed me completely. I could see she was failing to solve the puzzle as tears began to form once again. Kira looked out to see as she tried to gulp them down. I wasn't strong enough. Her voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. I'm ready to accept my fate. Kira closed her eyes for a few seconds, trying to compose herself. Opening them gained her focus. Her speech was much clearer now. I was not born of the earth like you. I am the embodiment of the sea, the daughter of celestial beings. I have been conscious for millennia. It is Cthulhu. Hello. The moon flickered in her eyes as she moved her gaze farther out to sea. I was left to watch over a mass far greater than the soil humans inhabit, and to protect and nourish a far broader range of creatures. Okay. This took an unexpected turn, I'll be honest. I kinda like it though. That's fun. Left completely alone, I struggled with this unimaginable burden, a struggle made harder by your selfish race. From constant pollution to farming entire species to death, as time progressed, like a thriving plague, you only brought more destruction. I watched you fervently, trying to dissect what made you behave in such a way. As my frustration at the lack of rightful reasons grew, so did my fascination. I realized I possessed similar traits to your kind, buried somewhere deep within me, not needing to be displayed, so therefore remaining hidden. The connection I felt became an obsession, one that was deeply intertwined with loathing. With that, she clutched her hands to her heart as if in pain. Following Kira's gaze, I focused my attention on the sedate waves. The reflection on the moon seemed to be trying its best to stay together, but was constantly distorted by lightly spitting rain. I wondered if this was a metaphor for Kira. I was approached by a forgotten ancient and offered the chance to become human, to walk amongst you. In return, I had no problem seducing and sacrificing one human soul to the shadowed apparition every lunar cycle. It turns out I didn't have the strength to fulfill my oath this time. I felt Kira realign her gaze in my direction. She smiled gently. Thank you, Gairo. I thought I knew what it meant to be human, but I realize now I never truly did. And I wouldn't trade the gift you've given me for the world. Kira's voice cracked. I love you. I numbly turned to meet her gaze. I just wished I had realized it sooner. Now my only wish is that one day you'll be able to forgive me. Kira, I mean, you haven't really done anything yet. Forgive you for what? Lying? That's not a big deal. I mouthed soundlessly as she crawled towards me, tears streaming down her face. Or is she gonna eat me? Still smiling, Kira put her finger over my lips before her hair was slung wildly towards the sea by a sudden gush of unending wind. The waves became ferocious as they tried to claw her in, and the rain heavier, wearing the whole scene down. Determined to let her warmth penetrate through any mistrust she had created, Kira didn't flinch once as her legs began to float skywards, gently lifting the rest of her body. Okay. Without moving her finger, she leant forward and kissed me on the cheek. I felt her warm, salty tears run down the side of my face, expressing what I was unable to. Okay, she was hurled suddenly backwards, towards the sea. The bracelet I hadn't once seen her without since that day on the rocks, which now seemed like a lifetime ago, was torn off her wrist and left at my feet. Kira looked terrified. Okay, that's very loud. Kira looked terrified, reaching out towards it as she was forced away. Seeing her face like that was a stab in the heart, one that would leave a deep scar. Bye-bye, moon girl. Silhouetted in front of the full moon, every aspect of her being fought wildly against its fate. Kira violently burst into the water that was her everything. The lifeless droplets shimmering in the moonlight as they reluctantly fell to the illuminated sea. Now indistinguishable from the rain, the sea, the water that will sustain me and my children. She will follow me always, under the same blue sky. Title drop. And that's that. Well, crafted by character Nguyen. I can't read that. I can't read that font. What? I can't fucking James. What? Marcel? Okay, too much stuff. Too much. Well, that was fascinating. This was a fascinating little thing. I enjoyed it. It took a really sudden fucking turn. I'll say that much. But I mean, that's fascinating. Yes, I like it. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it. And this was indeed very short and sweet. Although, I don't even know what to think. It's not over though. Grant, have you tried exploring the title screen? You never know. It may even hold a secret. Winky face. Sure. Maybe I will. But I'm satisfied with that ending. That was fascinating. With that, yeah. No, I'm good with that. I'm good with that ending. Cool. Now then. Yes, that was fascinating. I enjoyed that one. That was neat. But it has come time for another intermission as we conclude this one. This one was actually a lot shorter than I expected. Like, the previous one, the Juniper's Knot, was listed somewhere. It said like 30 minutes and took me like an hour and a half. This one, fuck. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was short and sweet and I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. Will I explore the other paths? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think I will. Maybe. Probably not, though. Nah, I'm good. I'm good with that, so I'm good. Anyway, intermission time means more unsolicited music recommendations. Track King Order. That's fancy. That's just pure music. It's good. Simon and Garfunkel, Hazy Shade of Winter. It's really good. These are like those two just sing. Their voices carry the whole songs basically. It's fascinating and fantastic and great. Really excellent. Meatloaf. I still can't believe why some musicians name their bands after like something like that. But the music's great. Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through. Fantastic, honestly. Rival, Disco Descent Remix. Yes, Cryptid Necro Dancer remix OST thingy. And obviously, Ray Charles hit the... Come on now, me, stop messing up these. Why can't I notice that? Hit the Road, Jack. It's an absolute, obviously, classic. Brilliant, fantastic, and fancy. And with that, do I have anything to waffle about since we concluded this? No, we do not. I do not have anything to waffle about anymore. Yeah, that was fascinating. That was a fascinating one. Unexpected. The truth. Sea monster entity. Guardian Cthulhu. Cthulian entity. Yes. Fascinating. Very fascinating. Indeed. But yes, that concludes the always the same blue sky. At least the ending we got. That's a conclusion, as far as I'm concerned. It's a fascinating one. How many times can I say that? I don't know. Anyway. With that, I suppose we can end. Yeah. I don't know how long it would take to do another run of this, and I'm not really curious to find out. Because I do want to go through a grab bag of short visual novels I have instead of just one multiple times over. This isn't a long read one, this is a grab bag thing. But anyway, with that, I suppose I shouldn't waste any more of your time or mine, so let's just conclude it. There! We did it! Quickly and efficiently, although I did waffle about a lot anyway. But yes, enough of that and enough of me. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you hopefully soon enough. Probably, maybe, I don't know, at some point. The week isn't done yet. I will be back with another one. But for now, I bid you farewell. Bye-bye now. See you later.